If you are not improving at chess, that is simply because you are thinking about the wrong things during the game. Here I will demonstrate the game and I will teach you exactly what you need to think about to start winning more games. So first of all, for the opening, please keep things simple. Try to just play normal opening moves and follow the opening principles. There is no need for anything complicated. So that is why I play pawn to d4. You could also play pawn to e4, but it is important that we try to put a pawn in the center, and then we want to see if we can develop our pieces. So for example, knight to f3, and I also want to develop this bishop so that I can castle quickly. In this game, I am just going to play pawn to g3, and I will play this fianchetto setup with the bishop, but definitely other openings, of course, are perfectly fine. All we want to do is we want to make sure we have the pawn in the center, we develop the pieces, and we castle. And trust me, this is enough to reach 2000 rating. You don't need anything more complicated than that. So this is the start of the game. Now we are getting into the early middle game because we have castled. What do we need to think about now? As soon as I get into the middle game, I always follow the same strategy. First, I look if I have any checks. We don't. Then I see if we have any captures. We don't have any captures. Then I look to see if we have any potential attacks. Attacks would mean attacking a piece with a pawn, attacking a queen with a knight, maybe trying to set up a checkmate, trying to do some type of tactical pattern. Here I think the position is very safe, very solid for both players, so there actually is not that much going on. And if there are no checks, no captures, no attacks, we go to the final stage, which is optimize. Optimize basically means try to see if you can improve your pieces. That is what we want to think about, improving our pieces. So to do this, I usually just have a look at my back rank, I see which pieces I haven't developed yet, and I get those into the game. And that is why I played my bishop here to g5, to also pin the knight. Now the knight is no longer defending this e4 square because it's actually pinned to the queen. So again, they castle. Do we have any checks? No. Do we have a capture? Yes. We can capture the knight, but in general, I don't go for equal trades, meaning just a knight for a bishop, a rook for a rook, or whatever. If the material is equal, there is no point in doing that. So I won't be doing that here. I'm looking to further optimize because I don't have anything else. So I'm going to play knight to d2. Just so I can use this knight to support some squares in the center, and the knight is better placed here than it was on b1. It is very important that whenever your opponent makes a move, you take the time to pause, sit on your hands, is what I call this. Basically, don't touch your mouse, don't make a move. You need to first look at what they are doing. They are moving a pawn. Why? Well, I'm going to right click and draw an arrow. And that shows me that this pawn is attacking my bishop, so I have to do something. I could either go back, but here I will actually be trading for the knight. And you might be thinking, you said to not do any equal exchanges. True, but here there is some benefit from this exchange. The knight was an important piece controlling the e4 square, and whenever you play d4, your middle game strategy is to get e4 in. And if you start with e4, your middle game strategy is to get d4 in. So we need to try to play e4, and that knight was preventing us from doing that. But again, they moved the queen. And by the way, I always do a two-part strategy. Whenever they make a move, before I do my move, I right-click their piece and I see what are they doing. And this shows me that there's one danger. The danger being that they attack this pawn, and it is attacked twice, and we only have this knight protecting it. So we need to fix this. What I also sometimes do is I just go back one move to see what was their piece doing previously. It was protecting the bishop, it was protecting this c7 pawn. And that's the next level tip to find potential mistakes. Because if they move a piece, they might be leaving something unprotected. I will be playing c3 here to protect my pawn in the center. And my general rule is that you can always use your e pawn, d pawn, and c pawns. With those, there is not much you can usually do wrong. The other pawns, you really have to think twice before moving them. So they play e5, and I always do this. What are they doing now? Well, they are attacking a pawn and a square. That's useless. So in reality, they are just attacking a pawn, which is now attacked 3 times and only protected twice. What else did this do? Well, this was protecting a pawn in the center. Now this pawn in the center is unprotected. And just by always going through this, you will have quite an easy time to find potential plans. So again, no checks. We do have captures, so we need to look at them. We could capture this. They could take. We could take. But then if they take with the queen, we actually don't have much. We just went for a bunch of equal exchanges, and that is not what we want to do. So I won't be capturing. We could play something to defend, like e3 maybe, and try to defend the center. But we would be playing very passive chess, or knight would get attacked, and we would be on the defensive basically. So I'm trying to see here, can I actually not just try to continue with my own plan, which is to play e4, since we started with pawn to d4. And yes, they can take in the center, but we can also take in the center. And this is now unprotected. We learned that because we had a look at what happened with that pawn move. So I'm going to play for e4. If they take, I am going to take. And this attacks their knight, chasing away the knight. And the knight was an important piece in the battle that we had going on for this d4 pawn. So they move the knight, they attack our knight, but they also dropped the defense and they also blocked in their own queen. So it looks to me like we can just happily take this pawn in the center. And this position, we are actually now up a pawn. And if you follow this strategy, I promise you, during most of your games, you will just be up material. Because you are paying very good attention to what's happening on the chessboard. And since you are thinking about checks, captures, attacks, you will be able to see the tactics in your game. So this is great. We are already up. The moment I am up material, even if it's just a pawn, I start to switch my strategy and I start to look more for attacking and trading. Those are the things I'm looking for. Because if we can start trading, we are going to get into an endgame with extra material. One pawn is sometimes not enough, but usually we can try to force a winning endgame from these positions. So a very good move here is knight e4. This is an attack. It's also a fork. I am attacking the queen and the bishop at the same time. Okay. If I wanted to here, I could just take the bishop and that would be fine. And actually, I will be doing that here because I do have a general rule that taking bishops with a knight is in general a good thing. Because bishops are very strong, long-range pieces. And if we can take them with a knight, that's usually a good exchange. Okay. So everything fine. We are up a pawn. Again, checks, no. Captures, no. Attacks, I don't think so. So I'm looking to see if I can optimize. Optimize, what does that mean again? Well, we still have 3 pieces here on the back rank. I want to do something with them. Maybe I want to put this rook here on e1 so that it is facing off with the enemy queen. That in general cannot be a bad move because this is also setting up some type of tactic. And they just moved the rook here, which they are doing to put some more pressure here on this file. So again, checks, no. Captures, no. Attacks, yes. We definitely have an attack here. We have the move pawn to f4, attacking a knight, and the knight is pinned. We set up a pin with the rook. It cannot move, otherwise they drop the queen. So if we play pawn to f4, this will simply win us material, because there is nothing that they can do. I'm going to quickly show you, if they had moved the knight, we would be taking the queen, and if they try to do like some type of in-between check, this also wouldn't help, because the queen is still under attack, and they just dropped the knight. Okay. But they are trying to make it tricky. They just attacked our queen, so we definitely have to fix that. Plus, we always have to keep an eye on that f3 square, because the knight might go in there with a check. I have to move my queen. Honestly, it doesn't matter much where I go. I will choose to go to b3, because I saw that this pawn is unprotected. So basically, we are just adding an extra attack into this whole situation. So that is going to be great. Okay, they move the rook. Our turn. Checks, no. Captures, yes. We can capture a knight. And this is extra material. And now, since we are up more than a pawn, especially now, trading. That is our new life goal. We just want to trade everything. So I'm just looking to see if I have trades, why we are going to get a very easy endgame from this. So they are attacking our knight. Technically, we don't have to worry about it, because the rook is still here, but I don't like to keep pieces hanging for too long, because you need to calculate over and over again to make sure that you don't drop them. I was also planning to play knight to e3, because my idea was just to see if I could attack that bishop and maybe trade. I'm looking for trades. Okay. I'm just going to play rook d1 here because I want to get my final piece into the game. I want to get my final piece optimized, and now we have such a beautiful position, basically just up a full piece. Okay, if your opponent is good, which this is a 2300 bot, so they won't blunder too much, they won't make it too easy for you to trade everything. That will mean sometimes that you have to play for a type of attack, which you can do because you are up material, so you can try to play for an attack. We have an extra knight, so in general, whenever we are attacking, we will always have one extra piece. One potential plan that I see here is to try to do something with this passed pawn. This is a pawn that might potentially be pushed further into the position because they have no pawns to protect it. Again, they make a move, always right click, draw the arrow. We need to think about their move. We cannot simply always continue on autopilot and try to play our own plan. Yes, you could attack the queen here, but I'm always a bit concerned with what they are doing. So if there is an easy way to fix it, for example, just moving the rook, let's just do that. And that makes everything so much easier. Okay, they go here. With the bishop, I don't really see much going on. So again, we are looking for a way to get our pieces into the game or to attack. We have no checks, we have no captures. How can we optimize? Well, this rook is no longer useful because this pawn is very well protected, and just randomly pushing here is also not great. Let's just keep the situation like that. So I'm going to try to switch my attack, and I'm going to try to switch it here into the F file to see if something was possible there. And also because now I can play my knight here to F5, attack their queen, and yes, of course they can take, but this is another trade and we are looking for trades. So this is excellent. We just were able to do an extra trade. They give us a check, meaning we have to either move the king or block. I would not block here because you are basically turning your rook into a passive piece for the rest of the game. So I'm just going to put my king into the corner here. Okay. And they are trying to now attack c4. It's attacked twice, only protected once. We need to fix it. So I'm looking, how can I fix that? One move you could consider was rook to c1. You always have to be a little bit careful that you don't end up in any like back rank issues or something. But here that's not happening because, well, we have the bishop and we have the rook and everything is fine. So I think this is just a simple move that we can play to fix that problem. Okay, and they move back. And this was a lot of maneuvering, but we did manage to exchange one extra piece, so we are making progress. What I will do now in this position is I will see if I can activate my pawn majority. So you can see that on the queen side, they have 2 pawns. On the queen side, I have 4 pawns, which means if we push, 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 eventually we will have 2 pawns that can potentially promote because it's a 4 versus 2 battle. So that is what I am looking at here. So moves to consider are just moves that get like the queen out of the way, maybe here, we want to move the queen somewhere, and then we want to see if we can get the pawns rolling. I will put the queen here. I didn't really like the d3 square because they just had such an easy way to attack my queen. So this is fine, the pawns are connected. We just have to make sure that we don't drop this one, so I think it is time to move back the rook. And yes, I did see that they were attacking my rook, but it's protected. When you are playing, it is very important that you play it a bit more slowly and that you always triple check everything that they just did to make sure you don't blunder. I do this automatically now, so I don't have to think about it too much. This move looks very interesting to me. We are activating the bishop on a very good diagonal, and we could potentially place it here, which is an outpost square, where we are checking the king, and basically that was a very difficult position for them to play because this bishop in their position attacking everything, that was just devastating. Black sacrificed their rook for the bishop and a pawn, which was a very good thing for them to do. That bishop was so strong that just sacrificing was the best thing they could do. So again, we have 2 plans here now. We can continue with the 3 versus 2 now and try to create a passed pawn here, or we could try to infiltrate and exchange. And infiltrate, I am saying this because basically we have an open file here. We can try to play on the open file. If they give us a trade, we are going to take the trade. And here I will do the final nail in the coffin, the final thing that might destroy black. I will propose a queen trade. And if black were to take my queen, that would instantly be game over because it's just an easy endgame with a rook. So really, please, in your games, try to play exactly like this, as I just showed you. Keep things simple, wait for a mistake, win material, trade for the endgame, and chess can be so easy. This is a 2300 bot, and we are just completely crushing it. I have a check here, so according to my own rules, I have to play it, because it is checks first, then captures, then attacks. I will do this, again, trying to see if he goes for the queen trade, plus I saw that I could potentially pin the queen to the king, winning the queen, not really, but we are exchanging the queen, and now we just have a simple endgame up a rook. This is perfect. This is what we wanted all this time. How do we win this? Well, first of all, we can activate a rook. Second of all, remember what I said before, since it is a 3 versus 2 on the queen side, most definitely we will be able to create a passed pawn. But I will go back with the rook and make sure that I can cut off this side of the board. So basically this is creating a barrier, so that way the king can never come closer and I can just push, and I will be creating my passed pawn here. I just have to make sure that we don't run into any trouble or self here if they push. Because for example, if I push, they push, well, I gotta do something with the rook, but I think this is fine. We are protecting the square and protecting our pawn. So nothing to worry about. The good thing with these types of endgames is that you are usually winning so badly that it doesn't really matter, and that technically any move is a good move. I will play pawn b5 here so that if he promotes, I can always take without dropping that pawn. And now we can even just swoop in with the rook. And they just played a6, so I will play pawn a4 just to protect and to make sure that we keep this very solid structure. That's going to allow us to win the pawn. That will also allow us to go in for a check. And now really this should be super easy because we are just promoting at this point. There is nothing that they can do. We can win the pawn. All right. And we basically just have 2 pawns which can promote. We can move around a little bit with the rook, and I'm just going to push pawns. We don't even have to look anymore at what they are doing. It doesn't matter. We will push, 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 and this will be a checkmate anyways. So please try this in your own games and drop a comment to let me know how it went.